Welcome, everybody, to another episode of MC Fireside Chats. My name is Brian Searl with Insider Perks Modern Campground, and my dog here, who's a lap dog and will not leave me alone, but loves the outdoors. So say hello to Riley. Excited to be back here for another episode. It's our fourth week episode. We're going to talk about AI, technology, all kinds of stuff like that. We got one of our recurring guests. It's summertime, Matt. Like, everybody seems to be missing and out having fun, except for, I guess, us, the young people. So, but welcome back. Matt's one of our recurring guests. I think maybe Cara will show up, but we'll see. She's supposed to be here today, but then two other people are traveling. Mychele and Kurtis is busy too. And then excited to welcome two of our special guests, Craig Alsup and Scott Engel. Did I pronounce you guys' name right? It's really tiny on my little screen. Scott Lengel. I forgot an L, didn't I? All right. It's really small. You have no idea how tiny it is on my phone because my studio is still on my back up and running. But anyway. So we're going to have good conversations about AI, talk about a bunch of guys' companies, things like that, and some of the stuff that's happening in the world with technology. So let's just go around the room and briefly introduce ourselves. Matt, you want to start?
Yes. Hey, Brian. I'll be gone next month. I do have a family. We do go on vacation, so I'll
Why on Wednesdays?
I'll,
That's a boring day to go on vacation, man.
Yes. So I am director at Unhitched Management and Climb Capital. We are an operator and third-party manager and investor in campgrounds, RV parks, and we are approaching 40 assets either under management or owned. We just closed on one in Branson, Missouri as of yesterday, so that's exciting. New market for us, and that one should be a lot of fun. So excited to jump into AI. I spend way too much time on Claude Code, about 12 hours a day, so love to talk AI.
Which one did you? I'm assuming since it's closed, it's public, so you can say which one in Branson.
Yes, it is called Musicland Campground in Branson, Missouri.
I've been to the KOA there a bunch of times. We used to do work from way back when, like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years ago. It's a good property, but yeah, Branson's an interesting city, especially during Christmas time.
I've only ever been for the conference. I got to check it out for Christmas time, I guess.
Well, the conference is kind of almost during Christmas time. Like, Christmas in Branson starts in, like, actually, I don't even think Christmas in Branson will go away. But I think it actually starts in, like, September or October.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, introduce yourself, please, sir. We can't hear you, Scott. I think you're muted. Still nothing. All right, Craig, you want to go while Scott figures out his mic?
Yeah. Hey. So I'm Craig Alsup. I own Askey's Landing RV Campground. We are a family campground in central Mississippi, right along Interstate 20. We're pretty close to like the Vicksburg National Battlefield and some of that sort of Civil War history stuff like that. So we get tons of guests come through that are going to the parks and doing those types of things. So yeah, I do a little consulting with other park owners here and there, just around marketing and systems and things like that. Some about kind of turning around a really old campground, because that's where I started out in this world. So
awesome. Well, welcome. Excited to learn more about your journey, what you're doing, and what you got going on. Scott, you got your mic going?
Yeah, can you hear me now? Testing 1, 2, 3.
Gotcha.
Hey guys, how y'all doing? So yeah, I'm Scott Lengel, the CEO and founder of a company called Adventure Genie, which is an AI-based trip planning tool, application, system, website that caters to the RVer, the camper, the traveler, even the road warrior. And we started a few years ago after I had quite a long career in the technology industry. I spent a couple of decades with a little firm out in Seattle called Microsoft, and then me and my wife retired, started traveling the world. COVID happened, started RVing, and the rest is history.
Never heard of Microsoft. I've heard of Macro Hard that Elon's starting, but I haven't heard of it. Welcome, Scott. I appreciate you being here. Excited to jump into more what Adventure Genie does. So typically I'll kind of ask and start the show to our recurring guests, like just Matt this week, but kind of something that's come across your desk. But I want to kick off something first, Matt. And I want to just talk a little bit about like the adoption curve of some of this technology. So we had these shows once a month. Obviously, I do my Outwired podcast. I'm big into AI. Matt, we've covered your journey and how you're getting big into AI. Obviously, I'm sure Scott is. We'll find out how much Craig is, right? But one of the things that's interested me in this industry is, and you've always kind of heard this narrative long before AI, right? Is that campgrounds are further behind in technology than hotels is the common theme, right? And I talked to a guy yesterday who does like flooring or something like that. He was like, the flooring industry is so far behind the campground industry. And I thought we were behind, but then I come into campgrounds and I see this. And so I want to talk a little bit about this adoption curve and get your gentlemen's thoughts on some of this stuff, because it confounds me, to be honest with you. And I know that people take time to change, and I know people take time to adopt new technology. The speed at which AI is moving is obviously a whole different animal, but I'm just curious of your thoughts as to why that happens. Here's what triggered this conversation for me. I was looking at Mark Kep's Facebook group the other day, and someone, I don't even remember his name, but you can go find the post, you really want to know who it is, posted about, like, I'm getting quotes for a new miniature golf course at my property. And stay with me, I promise it's going to loop back around, right? And he said, and in the comments, they were like, we've gotten quotes from people who will build us a miniature golf course from $15,000 to $20,000 a hole. And a 9-hole golf course he wanted to run was $175,000 was what he was quoted by a couple companies to build this thing at his campground. And so I went and did the math with AI, right? And I said, you know, if you have, let's say, a seasonal campground that's 100 sites, you're 70% occupied. You look at your 12 to 16 weekends over the summer where you're probably that high occupied, and then midweek, and then it ends up being like, and then you throw in like 2,000 extra people randomly who might just hit you weekends. If every single person who stayed with you, every single one of them played miniature golf for like $3 to $4 a hole, or $3 to $4 a round, right? It would take him 9 years to break even on building that miniature golf course. So this is what sparked the conversation for me. I'm like, obviously not all owners are like that. He probably has his reasons for doing miniature golf course, right? Not saying that he's wrong for his campground. But it makes me wonder why people are willing to strongly consider miniature golf courses for $175,000 or even $125,000 or $100,000 or $75,000, but we can't get them to spend $100 a month, $200 a month, $300 a month on Facebook ads or Google ads or marketing, or let alone AI, right? So I'm curious, Matt, what's your take on that first? Do you mind sharing? You off the cuff?
Yeah, I mean, to address the miniature golf piece of it, really interesting conversation in that, yeah, the ROI maybe doesn't sound that appealing, but maybe there's an idea that it's going to drive occupancy or it's going to drive ADR. It's an amenity that's going to lift, you know, things that are not right in the ROI of selling golf itself. But you know, it's so funny. I've been diving deep into a marketing project, a couple different marketing projects, conversion tracking, which is a whole new world for us, right? We went crazy with paid ads, but we didn't really understand how, you know, what the ROAS was. We didn't really have the metrics and the analytics to tie that in. So that's a world that I'm so deep into right now that we spend a bunch of money. It was kind of before my time, but you know, years ago, spending a ton of money on Facebook ads, paid ads, Google ads, without really measuring anything. And then that became untenable, and we just shut everything off. And we haven't really been running Facebook ads or Google ads or anything for quite a bit of time. We've been surviving as most of the operators that you describe, of word of mouth, you know, repeat customers, occupancy's fine, ADR's fine. We don't need it. And I think we're experiencing the ups and downs of the transient market that's, you know, well documented in all the different publications. And we're realizing that we need to perform, right? There's no excuse not to manage revenue and make the properties perform to the best of their ability. We have all the tools, we have all the efficiencies. You know, we're figuring it out. I'm learning it as I go, but like that's there's no excuse to not have the knowledge anymore, to not have the tools. Everything's at our fingertips, and that's what it makes me think of, is that, you know, with all these advancements in technology, and right, it's not even just about AI, right? It's one of my focuses has been, and like as I've become a little bit more knowledgeable in this world of technology and coding a little bit, it's AI isn't always the answer. It's often not the answer. A script or an automation or N8N, or just more efficiently integrating some systems is a lot of times the answer. But AI, if you're not advanced in that world, AI will help you get to that non-AI answer that much faster. And that's what I'm trying to kind of adopt and live by these days.
So two things there, right? I want to play devil's advocate, right? Number one is, that's where I kind of landed with your second comment, is that I think unless and until, and maybe hopefully this is just a dip and everything comes back and the industry will be great on the second half because gas prices are falling and we'll be fine in 2027 and whatever else, right? Doesn't matter what I believe or what I think is going to happen, but hopefully that's what happens. But I'm on the same kind of page as you, I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is what I heard. Disagree if you want, right? Is that there needs to be an impetus for adoption of the technology. There needs to be a reason for you to go out and say, I need Google ads, I need Facebook ads, I need marketing, I need a new website, I need AI, I need whatever it is. And if that impetus isn't there, because let's just pretend we're in an industry that's been almost completely full and recession proof since 1960, you know, and has never had anything bad happen to it, then the impetus hasn't been there. Is that generally the first part of what you're saying, Matt?
Yeah, and I mean, that's the way I think about the industry, is that was the impetus really has in some ways nothing to do with technology. It has to do with the economics of private equity coming into the space, right? Like I tell new investors this all the time, that you may feel like you're getting a smoking deal on a campground investment. Oh, great, it's a 10% cap rate or whatever, you know, and you're going to get seller financing, but you're resetting the basis of that investment, right? Mom and pop might be into that campground for $500,000 total basis. They built it themselves. They've been at it for 40 years. They've never had a mortgage on it. Now you're paying $2 million for that campground. They could get by on low ADRs, mediocre occupancy, no marketing, because they don't have to pay a mortgage that's $10,000 a month. You do, probably. And right, you might feel like you're getting a smoking deal on this great new investment opportunity of outdoor hospitality, but I try to caution people that you're putting yourself in a box financially where you have to crush it and you have to perform to the best of your ability just to stay alive in a lot of ways, which I think people don't realize a lot of time.
But that's still the same impetus, right? You get in the box, whether you know or you're not, you're getting into the box when you are. You're into it now, and then the impetus is oh shit, I'm in a box. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then you have to leverage the technology to become more efficient and to hit your mark.
Yeah, or find somebody who can help you with it. And that's the same going back to like I took paper reservations and I want to do online reservations, right? It's all the things. It's not just AI and marketing, right? It's the impetus of all that stuff, which lends itself mostly to technology, but it's always that thing. But then there's the other flip side of it, is the miniature golf course. Is the how do and do you see this changing? Because I texted this to a couple people yesterday, and they both said the same thing to me, and I won't name them, right? But they both said the same thing to me. They said, yeah, basically the industry hasn't changed in 15 years. And I look back on it, and I've been in this industry since 2011, right? 15 years, 16 years almost. And I realized they're right. Like what we've done in the industry, just picking on me because I know me, right? With marketing and technology and AI and all the things now, we pushed a couple people forward, a couple large groups, a couple, right? But the overall, by and large, he's right. The industry hasn't changed. So then the other question is how do we get the industry to not change fully, because they don't need to. A lot of what they do is correct. Like we said, there might be reasons to add miniature golf, to drive occupancy or whatever else. But how do we get them to calculate the actual ROI on things, to look at the purchase they're making, and then have a simultaneous understanding of, well, maybe if I run Facebook ads and I do conversion tracking like we're talking about, then that's going to give me a 10x ROI, whereas miniature golf will only give me 2. Because I think I can go to a conference and I'm willing to like drop hundreds of thousands of dollars on a cabin, tens of thousands of dollars on gem lighting, $100,000 in miniature golf, but they'll just walk right by most of the digital people.
I have an opinion on that.
Yeah, please share. I don't want to put Matt on the spot just by Matt. Matt's probably like, I'm never coming on the show again.
Well, I think you do it with data. And I've got to imagine that the outdoor hospitality industry, which is more you guys than me, is a gold mine of data. You have decades of reservation data and customer data and preferences. And I imagine you have a really good insight as to what your clients, what your customers, what your RVers, that's me, are looking for. And that is where AI can be a huge differentiator. AI, now I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying that the mom and pop campground owner can do this on their own, but oh my God, the technology absolutely exists. That's where AI thrives, with these large language models that y'all hear about and probably know about, and layering on these reasoning engines on top of them, and figuring out what do people like, and it's hard. Traditionally, this was a software problem, a data science problem, a data warehouse problem that was non-trivial to solve. But with the AI engines of today, I'm not going to trivialize it, and I'm not going to say it's simple, but if you're looking for patterns and trends that were really hard to find in the past, it's become unbelievably easy to do right now. So the technology is there. The baseline technology is absolutely there, finding out ways how to harness it. And the scary thing is, as Matt said, he's already using Claude to write code. So these systems are now capable of, used to be like self-healing. Well, now they're kind of self-developing. And it might be a little bit scary, but used under the right guidance and so forth, it really is all doable.
What do you think, Craig? Our only campground.
Yeah. Right. You guys aren't in the club. What's up with that? Yeah, I mean, I think that, speaking from my specific experience with my park, when I bought into my park a few years ago, there was no online reservation system. There was no, added amenities that, there's a 15-acre fishing lake, but they weren't charging people to come fishing for the day. They didn't have day, month, annual passes for fishing or swimming or kayaking, or they didn't have kayaks for rent. I mean, so there were just so many sort of low-hanging fruit things, right? That, for better or worse, I mean, I see the owner, like previous to me, man, he was just tired. Like, he'd just been doing it for so many years, right? And so for him, kind of like you said a minute ago about just mortgages and stuff, like he didn't know any money on the park. He was doing okay. He was kind of getting, a little pocket money, right? Like he was making enough off of it. That I don't think he felt like he had to, right? And so then if we look at like trends, if we look at the stats around campgrounds in the US, so many of them are owned by people probably that fit that bill, right? They've owned the campground forever. They don't know anything on it. They don't need to go out and learn AI. They don't need to add a bunch of, things that are going to generate extra income. I feel like, at least in the case of many, they are sort of just coasting on what they've always done, right?
Because their margins are much higher, is what you're saying.
And their margins are crazy, right? Like it's all profit. Like the guy that owned my campground, I mean, he had 2 staff that he was paying very little, that basically just they had a site, and they got their site free and they got a little pocket change. But he wasn't spending money on anything. Right. And then I come in and I'm like, oh, we got to redo this. We got to fix this. We got to add this. Right. And some of that, man, I've had to like pull back on a little bit because, like, do we need all of those different things? And really start to look at the ROI of things a little bit closer than I was at first. I think at first it was more of like shotgun blast. Let's get this thing way different than it was, so that we let the world know we're here. But now we're slowing down a little bit on that and kind of trying to be a little more strategic. But man, yeah, the use of AI, there's a group of people that are probably the majority of campground owners in the U.S. at least, that are never going to adopt AI, and that just is what it is, right? They're never going to run Facebook ads or Google ads, and it just is what it is. I think honestly we're talking to the vast minority when we're talking about these things anyway right now. And I don't honestly see that changing until all the until more and more of the campgrounds change hands, right? You read the book The Tipping Point before? Yeah. So I think until we reach the tipping point in the industry where it's like, you got to do this stuff or your business is going to tank, basically. Until we reach that point, out of all the parks within a 50-mile radius of me, I'm probably the most advanced, have the most revenue streams. Most of the others are right where my park was when I bought it.
But I think we said, like, the impetus then it's economic, right? And I don't think
Yeah.
we're having a crazy down year. I think we're having a weird year, but I don't think it's a crazy down year. So we're not quite at that impetus for most of those people who have higher margins yet. Probably not
Right.
anywhere close.
No, I think they can accept the ups and downs a lot better because they don't have the mortgage, they don't have the high output.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, Matt, any thoughts on that? You unmuted, so I'll make sure you have any thoughts. I was going to ask Scott about his company.
Yeah, was in a meeting earlier today, and somebody asked me if they thought if like the AI hype was kind of coming to an end, right? If like it was kind of gonna die down a little bit, and I said to them, not a chance. Like, we're just getting started here. And it's, I think you summed it up pretty well, that, right, the impetus is economic. People have to evolve. Adversity causes people to evolve. And I think that's the key here, that, right, it was adversity for me that sent me into a 2-year deep dive into AI to learn it as fast as I could, because, right, it was the threat of loss of income becoming obsolete. Just seeing that, right, it's an interest level, right? It's exciting to me, but more so than that, it's fear of, I better learn this or I'm not going to be able to add value to an organization or feed my family or all these things that, it's, so I think it's pretty amazing. And then, right, you reach this point where, like, and don't get me wrong, this is not a statement of like, I know more than anyone else or whatever. I'm still learning. And it's this big, complex, kind of scary, exciting thing. And then you get to a point and you realize it's just text, right? Like, AI agents are just text files. Large language models, it's just text, right? It's prediction and it's models and it's algorithms, but at the end of the day, it's literally just text, and making text do interesting things, adding some automation to some things, some instructions, some context. Like, it's huge and it's amazing and it's incredible, but it's, once you get to a certain point, you realize, like, it's actually scary how simple it is in a lot of ways. I hope I don't like overstate that, but that's been something I've been reflecting on the last few months, that on one end it's scary and huge and intimidating, and on the other end it's like it's actually kind of basic.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I think you have to cross that threshold, right? Like for me, I was on I think it was last week on Fireside Chat. Sandy Ellingson was asking me like, "You're the guy I rely on to tell me what's new in AI. What's the latest, greatest thing you're working on?" I'm like thinking in my head, like, I'm using AI to code, but there's not really a fancy new feature that I've tried in Claude in the last month that I can tell this woman that is the fancy new thing, right? Because
Right.
just like I think you articulated in the beginning, is that like I'm using it to code, do research, build functions, build polish databases, link systems together, all that kind of stuff. And that's AI, but that's also the same AI, maybe a new model number, right? But generally the same thing. It's not a new feature, or like we went through this period, I think, of 2-3 years where everybody's like, "Oh, this killer new feature! It can operate your computer. It can do this. It can do whatever." And now we're just in the like everybody's building shit on top. All right. So
Right.
impetus number one is economic. Can impetus number two be the consumer, Scott? Can the consumer, through either being forced to adopt AI, like on Google and Apple and everything else, right? Or through an expectation of, well, I went to a campground and they had AI chatter and AI phone agent, and they answer the phone call 24/7. Why aren't you? Can the consumer be a driver of a change too?
100%. And so I had the opportunity to give the keynote presentation at a large OEM dealer meeting, OEM manufacturer of RVs, a large firm. You know their name, but shall remain nameless. And the topic that I gave it on was the future of AI in the RV industry, shockingly. And the approach that I took, and I'm getting back to the consumer side here, the approach that I took was, so imagine the audience were a couple of 100, 300 dealers, principals, folks that sell RVs. And the challenge that I put out to them is that if you're not thinking about AI, considering AI, leveraging AI today, you're going to be behind, because, and maybe we put this in the context of campground owners, because your customers are absolutely using AI today. And for the folks that are selling RVs, I came in and said, let's consider myself as a buyer of an RV. And here are my specs. Here's what I'm interested in. Here's what I'm looking to pay. Hey, ChatGPT or model of the month that you want to use, help me negotiate the best deal. So as a consumer, I am way ahead of the game. The dealers used to have all the cards, all the data, all the knowledge, all the strategy and techniques. But now as a consumer, I am suddenly more powerful, knowledgeable, strategic than they are if they're not using AI. And literally what I did was I built two competing chats, two competing agents. And I said, let's consider me as a consumer coming in as a buyer. Help me pitch the best deal here, request the best deal. Let me put on my seller hat. Holy cow, that's what just came in. Let me develop the best response, best answers to their questions, and went back and forth. So I would contend that I don't care what industry or what business you're in, but let's talk about the campground industry since we're here, that if you're a campground owner or a campground conglomerate, that if you're not leveraging AI in some way, and you don't need to develop your own, there's plenty of systems you could be leveraging. If you're not, you're going to be behind the game. With Craig and I, when we were in the green room talking a little bit, he said that he was using AI to check to see how his campground was being portrayed and coming up. So your customers, your clients absolutely are using AI to get more insight. By the way, we build an application that does that that allows the user to step a level above all of it, abstract themselves from all this nonsense, personalize it. Quick little plug, an example of what we do with AI. Customer comes into Adventure Genie and says, hey, I'd like to take a 6-week trip from Bluffton, South Carolina to the national parks of the Southwest. Through personalization, we know that they have a certain type of rig, that There's certain type of campgrounds that they like to stay in with certain amenities, and we know what they like to see and do along the way. And personalize, create that custom itinerary for them. And the same thing will happen in the broader world, the broader RV industry and in the campground industry for sure. The better that you can provide customized itineraries, stays, and so forth, the better off you are. And by the way, one last point on that. Again, you guys have a gold mine of information. You know what your customers are looking for. You know how they like to travel. You might even know, oh, if you guys have a network of campgrounds, oh, they were coming from Jacksonville, Florida, and then to Savannah, Georgia, and then to Asheville, North Carolina. There's a high degree of likelihood that they're going to go to Nashville next because they have this particular profile, demographics, and so forth. So you start predicting stuff like that, and oh my God, are you opening up a whole new world of opportunities?
All right, so devil's advocate. I'm a campground owner listening to this show. I just heard Scott, and you articulated everything really well, right? Like from my side as an AI geek, I'm like, yeah, I'm on board, right? I believe you. From a campground owner side, I'm hearing you say my customers are using AI. Why do I care?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I care?
Because they are so well informed and so armed with the information that y'all have to be prepared to respond to that as well. And part of it is just feeding the beast too. The more that, where is this old AI in the sky getting this information from? It's out there. I mean, the more that you put out on your own websites and maybe even Meta and Google and so forth, the more that you put out there in a way that they're looking for it, then the more likely you're going to be coming up as, recommendations, or in apps like ours, same way that we do it.
But how does it impact me as a campground owner? What I mean by that, let me try to ask the question in a little more narrow way. Like right now, campers go to Google. They have for like 20 years, right? And they see my keyword rankings, and I put all this money into my SEO and my website and everything else, and I'm number one or number two in my market, and I'm pretty constantly full, other than maybe this year is a little bit of a hiccup because of the transient market we talked about. And maybe I'm looking at that, maybe I'm not. Maybe I just think I have a down year and it'll come back up as the booking window shortened. Everybody's telling me that AI is important, that they're going to now ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Adventure Genie or whoever else, right? But how does that change? I'm still here. I'm still fine. Like, why do I need to pay attention to this? Or do I just need the impetus and have to wait for that? And if so, what is that impetus? When do I start having to notice it is what I'm asking.
Yesterday.
We say, right? Like we're the geeks. Like we say that, right?
How about this? I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of riffing here a little bit, but how about as a campground owner, like Craig kind of did, was go out to ChatGPT and say, okay, I have a campground in this geography. Here's the amenities that I'm offering. What are people looking for? What are RVers looking for? That fit these particular criteria. I think you use AI. Now, this is where mom and pop, I think, could do this today. Go out to ChatGPT and say, help me find the best campground in Bluffton, South Carolina. And if you own a campground there and you're not coming up, find out what's coming up, what is being suggested, or come to Adventure Genie. And you could get into a conversation, ask some follow-up questions. Hey, why didn't my campground show up? Hey, by the way, here's my URL. Here's my website. Go and scrape my website and tell me why you didn't recommend me. I mean, you're going to be blown. If you own a campground, you don't need to be a technologist. You don't need to be writing code for this. Just have a conversation as if you had like the world's best advisor, business advisor sitting at your side. It's almost as if you have McKinsey in your back pocket for free. It's like, hello, Mr. or Mrs. Advisor. Can you tell me what I need to take a look at my at my website? Go and create my website and tell me what's good, what's bad, what's ugly, what are the current trends that people are looking for? What am I missing? just go and have it analyze your website, and then go and have it analyze your campground under the covers as well. I think there's lots of ways that campground owners can be leveraging this technology today.
Okay, and talk us through what you did, Greg. Talk us through what you did. So you said you've done this for your park, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I was gonna say, in some of the marketing talks that I've done at the COE conference and stuff like that, I've been at Branson the last couple of years. One of the things that I realized is, I talk about AI and stuff like that with people, but uh, for so many parks, just when I talk about like optimizing your Google business, they're like, they just look at me with a blank stare, right? Um, you talk about like, okay, yeah, like what are you doing to get your website listed in various local directories like chambers of commerce and stuff like that? People a lot of times just sort of look at me with a blank stare, right? And so I think that's such a big like there are more missing pieces than just the AI piece, right?
Yep.
But for me, the AI piece has been so helpful for me to sort of weed through the mess, kind of like what you were saying, Scott, about just like analyze my website, point out things to me that I should improve and do better, right? It's like using AI to take to gather data on what I should do in the real world. Um, I'm cutting so much time off of everything I do, right? Scripts for my store staff to use when they answer the phone. I mean, even just like I I think that for me the most probably the most useful, at least current thing that we're doing with AI are those types of things where we're using AI to cut to the chase, to, figure out what's going on and what we need to do differently, and then to do it in the real world. Um, versus, just sort of being stuck in doing the same old things that we've always done. So much of mine is just digging into AI and going, hey, give me some scripts for this, help me write, help me put together a list of things that my maintenance guys need to be checking every day. It's just like I'm not having to use the brain power for those things anymore, so that I have more time to pay attention to systems and figuring out, new things to do. I have time to think in my business rather than just sort of spend all my time doing all these tasks and developing all these things that the AI can do far faster and probably better than me. Um, and so in a lot of ways, that's what I've used it for thus far. Now I have an AI chat thing on my website, that pushes through to our regular phone system. Um, I have an AI system kind of running in the background that's emailing people, sending review requests and things like that to boost up my reviews. Um, and to respond to reviews when they come in through Google and Facebook and all the different places. And so, I think so much of it for me has just been going like, okay, how can I get more done faster? Um, and how can I, if Jay Abraham says it like this, like a business that's unexamined isn't worth owning, or a business that's unoptimized isn't worth owning. And that's kind of my take on it. Is that like, I don't know. I have no interest in owning a business that just sort of floats. And so for me, it's like I'm easy on the uptake as far as AI and stuff, because I'm like, hey man, it's going to help me cut some hours off the time it takes me to do things. And it's going to help me to more quickly, more effectively examine my business and look for the nooks and crannies of extra money that could come, extra, also just goodwill of our guests. Um, and if you want to figure out what people like or hate about your park, go onto one of the AI systems. Give it your review link, for Google or wherever. Tell it to scrape all your reviews and tell you, the 10 things that people liked the most about your park. And then furthermore, ask it, how should I double down on what I'm currently doing that those people are already saying that they love. And the flip side of that is, what are the things that people don't like about my park, and what are the best ways for me to fix those the most, quickly, efficiently, cost effectively, to make sure that we turn those frowns upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all good. All good.
And what's the white space, right? What
Yeah.
are the things you're not even thinking about? People aren't giving you reviews on good, bad, or ugly today. What are your opportunities to have you leapfrog the competition? That, because again, the big brain in the sky has figured out what others are doing really, 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 really well already.
Yeah. Well, using stuff like that, and questioning, having these chats back and forth with AI systems. I mean, it's at least partly responsible for the fact that we've taken our reviews on Google from 108 total reviews when I took over. It was a like 40-year-old park when I took over. We had 108 Google reviews. We're at 4.1 stars, and we're at almost 4.9. Like, I think we're like 4.88 or something now. And we've got we're closing in on 1,300 reviews now in 3 years. And so,
Wow.
I mean, complete turnaround on those. And you look at all the parks around me. Actually, I've painstakingly, through AI, looked at all the reviews for all the campgrounds in my state, that I could find through AI. And we are beating almost all of the state parks that have been around forever, in number of reviews and ranking. And we're beating, I think, all but maybe 2 parks in my entire state as far as number of reviews. And then, ranking, we're up there as well in the top. So I think, if you don't care about the money of it, at least care about the customers. And if you care about your customers, use AI to make your systems, to make your park run more effectively, to figure out what they love and what they don't love, and make that better.
Okay. So the impetus is maybe economic, maybe consumer, but I feel like we still haven't closed the loop here yet. I don't know what that tipping point is to get to the consumer. Like, consumer mass adoption is one thing, but the tipping point where the campground owner notices it enough to make action, I still think that just lands back in the economic bucket. Like, I think there's going to be some campground owners like you, Greg, for example, and Matt, like what you do at Unhitched, at private equity, and as management groups take over and new owners come in who have used these tools, but that's going to be an impetus. But I don't think the consumer is going to be the mass adoption impetus that we thought it would. Like, you look at, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this, maybe, Matt, just because you play with AI more, but Scott too, or Craig. But you look at something like email marketing, right? This is a massive thing in campgrounds. Everybody get on my email list. I'll email all 5,000 people who stayed with me for the last 3 years and talk about the cabin that I have available open this weekend. Doesn't matter if they're in an RV when they stayed with us and they don't have any interest in a cat. I'm just going to blast my list and blast my list and blast my list, right? But that's changing. Now we have Google, who's announced AI Inbox, and Google and Apple are both going to summarize your emails for you. And all of a sudden, those emails that you've worked on for hours and hours and hours, agonizing over the design and the layout, the buttons, and the call to action, and everything else, aren't even going to be read by the consumer anymore. They're going to be summarized, if they're even summarized in the top most important things the AI decides. So then, how does that change? Like, I feel like you're going to see people blasting 5,000 people on their email for the next 20 years, and not still having that impetus from the consumer to recognize that nobody emails. Does that make sense? So that's why that's why I'm saying maybe it's not the impetus of the consumer, it's the impetus of the economic downstream of the consumer's not opening my email anymore. Consumer doesn't have as much brand recognition of me or remember me as much. And then I'm also not doing enough to be showing up in ChatGPT, which downstream feeds the economic issues.
Right. Yeah. We're jumping into email. You mentioned email marketing. We're jumping into a big project to revamp our email marketing. And, after scoping it out, the real big lift with AI is just much more efficient, automated segmentation of the list and
Yep.
personalization of the marketing message and content, right? Do they have a pet? Do they have kids? Are they a prior customer? What kind of rig do they have, right? So we're essentially building a database, right, of all of our customers and everything we know about them safely and securely. And that becomes a knowledge base, right? And then we plug Claude into it, and Claude helps us segment that and then message to those different segments. And it's nothing revolutionary, but it's something that we wouldn't even have dreamed of attempting to do 2 years ago, because we don't have the marketing staff to make that happen. So we're plugging in an Airtable database with an N8N workflow, with Claude API, with Klaviyo, and into our, we use NewBook for booking. So it's all this flow of data, which is, pretty amazing, because I'm 35 years old. I grew up with a computer. In that respect, I'm kind of expected to be, tech native, but like, I've done plenty of exporting a spreadsheet, exporting a CSV from this system, doing a little processing to it, uploading it to this system, and there's some leakage, and you get busy with other things, and you're not gonna always do that. I mean, that's like should be a thing of the past. And like, I think people have these big ideas of building AI agents and AI employees, and it's like, no, it could just be a really simple reasoning step that gets plugged into a Zapier or a Make or an N8N with a database, and just connection, right? Connection of systems, integration of systems that 2 years ago, 3 years ago would have been hours and hours of import, export, processing, spreadsheets that you just don't need to do it anymore.
Yeah, and the database is a smart way to go. It prevents the hallucination for the most part, right?
Right.
Because you're actually feeding it in the data versus asking it to come up with data, or research the data, or find the data, or analyze whatever, right? Like, here's the data, use this data, and then tell me about my customer list, or what can you take away from it, or where do they come from, or how far are they driving, or what do I know about them, or when did they stay, or things like that, right?
Right.
Find me something interesting is what I like to add, whenever I'm analyzing data, because sometimes there's a specific question I want, but many times it's the question that I don't know to ask. And so if you
Totally
just ask right, especially like a Perplexity computer or a Manus or something like that can really dig into these files on a long-term basis, Claude's
right.
great. Claude Code can do that. Talking about Claude on the desktop, right?
Right.
But just really digging in there and just saying, what's something interesting that I might not have known about this list of 2,000 campers? Oh, really?
Right.
Right. God.
Brian,
Scott,
I think you go ahead.
Finish your thought, and then I have a question for you.
Yeah, I think you touched on something really important. It's having your own data as well. And that's where these AI workflows, systems really become powerful, because there's a massive amount of information available now out in the large language models, and it's kind of very generic, and that works great to solve the general problem. But when you couple it like Matt's doing, and you mentioned there, Brian, and Craig, you probably are as well, when you couple it with your own custom data, your own databases, your own client list, your own website information, when you couple that public LLM knowledge with your private information, that's where magic happens, and you become unbelievably powerful.
All right, so
Totally.
my question to you, Scott, is about Adventure Genie. I'm going to give you a hard question, okay?
Okay.
Don't shoot the messenger. I'm curious of what your thought is on this, right?
Yep.
So nobody really knows what the future of AI, where it goes,
Yep.
where it ends up, right? It probably never ends up anywhere. It keeps progressing.
Yeah, Claude knows, but go on.
Maybe, yeah, okay, maybe. Well, Claude Fable did, and then there was an export control, and we got all the answers. So only the couple people who knew for a few days knew what the answer was. But specific to Adventure Genie and your business and trip planning, like obviously there is still a tremendous amount of use in the visual interface of the trip planning piece, right?
Yep.
Where do you see that going in the future? Because it interests me. Like, I think we're headed very quickly toward voice being the interface for most things, but there's still going to be a loop that needs closed with some kind of show me photos, whether that's on my TV or a hologram device or my meta glasses or whatever it is, right? But where do you see that interface going? Because I'm not one that, like, I believe in that the model and the value, I think, of Adventure Genie. I'm not sure they're going to go to adventuregenie.com though forever. What do you think?
Okay, great question. I love provocative questions, by the way. I'm going to rewind it a little bit because the question could also be, why the heck would anyone use Adventure Genie when they have ChatGPT? And so I'm going to start there. And really the difference is it's kind of like going to Netflix or Amazon and getting the same answer for everyone. And if you go to ChatGPT, pick your favorite tool. You go to ChatGPT today and say, I want to take that trip from A to B. It will not be customized for you. It doesn't know your preferences. It doesn't know very much about campgrounds, sadly, right now. So it really doesn't have a lot of information about campgrounds. And it's horrible at routing. So a generic system like that today is not going to suffice. And that's why we built Adventure Genie. It's highly customized, personalized, RV-based safe routing, RV safe routing, things to see and do along the way. And we know a lot about campgrounds and make a great match for you. So we will say, Brian, in this location, this particular campground, with a 97% likelihood, you're going to love it. Well, Craig, that might not be your cup of tea because you want something more luxurious or less, and so forth. So that's kind of the differentiating thing there. Now, to the question about the interface, that is, again, where we shine. You can use ChatGPT and you're not going to get a nice little route, and you're not going to be able to zoom in, and you're not going to be able to zoom into the campground level and even look at how you traverse your campground or look at the individual sites. So I don't think that stuff ever goes away. You know, you can go back to triptychs from decades ago, or the road tripper paradigm. You know, folks are very visual. They want, and we have not reached that tipping point that I heard about earlier, especially the largest population, I believe, still. I mean, what's the average age of a camper today? When I look around my campgrounds, I see a lot of gray hair still. And, you know, those folks aren't. I did see one guy wearing the meta glasses the other day, which was pretty cool. But generally, that's not where they are just yet. 5 years from now, Brian, I'm probably with you. I mean, yeah, it's going to change drastically. Will they ever want to? They do want to get away from paper, 100%. Nobody wants paper anymore. But, you know, if you get it on your phone or on your tablet or in your glasses, now we're talking something really, really, really compelling. And I don't know. Let's ask one of the models what they say.
To be clear, I'm not saying Adventure Genie can't have a place in your glasses. I'm just saying AdventureGenie.com might not be the answer.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And by the way, we provide both a traditional interface, point, click, add, stop, search. We provide all that stuff, but we also provide a beautiful natural language. Literally describe what you want to see and do and how far you want to drive, and then natural language processing, reasoning engines, all of that stuff kicks into play. Could I speak to it? Here's the interesting thing about speech. We don't have to build a single thing into adventuregenie.com, or, you know, we don't have a mobile app because we don't believe we need a mobile app. But if we had a mobile app, there's nothing stopping the user from hitting that little microphone button where they should be typing, and let the native operating system or platform that they're using and do the text to speech part.
But you could do it better, Scott. Google sucks so bad at that. It doesn't even understand what I'm saying at all.
You should try speaking in Italian and see if it does a better job.
I'm an American. I only got taught one language in school. Like, I had Spanish in 4th grade. I know how to say hola. That's about it.
Como está usted?
How are you?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The interface. the inner models are all right. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I think we just might be delayed on top of each other.
Yep, I think we are. All good. Yeah, the interfaces are, going to be even better yet. Why do I have to speak? Why can't I just think it and it happens? Right? I mean, we will get there. Believe it or not, we will get there.
That's what I told CampSpot the other day. I told somebody from CampSpot that they announced their new feature, that grid optimization drag and drop thing. And I messaged somebody from CampSpot. I was like, why do I have to use my mouse? I just want to look at this thing and think about where the grid should be. Why didn't you build that, man?
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Or, well, that's not too wild, actually, because the software should be able to predict it and figure it out before you even have to think it. So it's not really that it's going to do. Actually, it is. It's going to do the thinking for you, and it's going to predict what you want to do.
But that's not as cool as Minority Report, man. I want to stick my hand out, move the grid. That's what I want to do. I don't know if I'll look as cool as Tom Cruise ever, but one can hope.
Oh, the Minority Report. I got you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now let's wrap up the show with a couple of questions. Matt, do you have any questions for Scott or Craig?
Yeah, I guess, from Scott, I'd love to hear, I think it's a little bit of a buzzy topic of, right, discoverability through AI, right? And I think it can be sometimes overcomplicated. So do you have any tips for campground owners on how to become more discoverable in the AI age?
I'm going to give you the simplest answer, and will probably be the best answer. And that's I'm just going to use ChatGPT as an example and say, how can I become more discoverable as a campground? You will be blown away by the response.
Yeah.
Do a bunch of hard things that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to yell at ChatGPT, because it's not a human consultant. You can yell at it. I went to ChatGPT the other day and I said, who has the best? I was on the free version by accident. I think this is why it answered wrong. I wasn't logged in. But I said, who has a report that can tell me about campground pricing? And it was like, nobody in the industry has a campground pricing report, but you can check KOA's North American Camping Report. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I yelled at it in all caps. And it was like, oh,
do you know who I am?
Exactly.
Wow.
Okay, Scott, do you have a question for Craig or Matt?
Yeah, actually, for both of you guys, what are the next big trends? What's the next big thing in campgrounds beyond miniature golf?
We might need another hour.
Yeah.
I'll go quickly and give the floor to Craig, but I sense a reckoning, honestly. I think most of these campgrounds out there are built for baby boomers that are aging out. I don't think they are what the millennial type camper wants, the 20s, 30s, 40s. Right, I have a rooftop tent on my truck. And I'm not even that outdoorsy, right? But I want to go out and be in the woods. I don't want to see somebody else's camper. Those are the things that I want. I don't get excited about going to a 250 site RV resort that's a parking lot. It's just not my thing. I might be a little bit of a special consumer in that, but I think a lot of these resorts are going to have to get reimagined, in the next decade or so.
Yeah, I don't think I want to let Craig answer, but I don't think that's anything different than what, I've been saying that with Scott Barr and I've been saying that for a while. We've been building parking lots for 40 years. And that was part of my point of miniature golf is yes, there might be a theory behind raising occupancy, but so many people have miniature golf courses. So anyway, we're not going to go back to that. Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I think that innovation is going to become more and more necessary and less optional. I think that as more of the parks get purchased by people who are, I mean, younger, more hip to AI, more hip to systems, who, like you said earlier, they've got money in, they got skin in the game, right? And they got to pay that mortgage every month, right? I think that some parks are going to get left behind in that. Um, and they're going to find their occupancy starting to dwindle. I think there's going to be a reckoning in that, right? They're going to start to see occupancy dwindle because the park down the street that's absolutely killing it in, social media and Google and chat and all these different, things, and that have dialed in who their consumer is. I think you're going to start to see the people that want the true kind of backwoods experience, right? They're going to be able to find that experience because somebody's going to build a resort that's exactly for them, right? And so these places that have sort of been getting by because they are the place that's closest or the place that's along the highway that everybody's driving on or whatever are going to start to see an economic shift for themselves. And I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's nothing shifts until it has to, and I think we're going to get to a point where there's enough new players in the game that are optimizing all these things, that the players that are 70-80% or whatever of the market right now are gonna have to shift, or they're gonna start seeing massive exodus from their parks. And hopefully we can be in the ones that take advantage of, in a good way, take advantage of that and benefit from that. And, also just help to lift the industry as a whole so that RVing, camping, continues to grow. And it doesn't have to be an us versus them thing. But and that's what I do when I talk with people and speak at COE and different places and stuff. It's like, hey man, yeah, like uh I am using all these systems, and yeah, I'm figuring it out a little bit as I go. But at least I'm moving forward, and there's always somebody that doesn't quite know as much as you know at any given moment. So, man, hopefully we can all continue to just share what we know and help other people along, and we get there as an industry together rather than having too many parks get sort of left behind in the shuffle.
100%. Well said. I was going to say something else, but that's the perfect way to end the show. Matt, final thoughts and where can they find out more about Unhitched and Climb Capital?
Yes, you can check us out at unhitchedmgmt.com. That's our kind of our management arm, climbcapital.com for our investment arm, and unhitchedrv.com to see all our RV parks. And you can reach me on LinkedIn. Very active on there. So look me up, Matt Whitermore. Appreciate it, Brian.
Thanks for being here, Matt. Scott, final thoughts and where can they find out more about Adventure Genie?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Good conversation. I love talking AI, and I love talking AI in different scenarios where you never thought you might be using it. A few years ago when AI was just starting to become really, really popular, I don't think the RV industry probably was not at the forefront of their minds. So I'm glad to see it happening everywhere. If you want to check out Adventure Genie, adventuregenie.com. Go ahead and get your 7-day free trial. Try it out, play with it. Think you'll love it. If not, let us know.
Is there actually a jingle for Adventure Genie that you sang?
Yeah.
I think you should. I think you should. If there's not, I think it would be catchy.
Okay.
It was good, man. I'm a little like 5% just teasing you, but 95%, like, it was kind of cool. You did a good job.
Adventure Genie, our magic, your journey.
All right, Craig, final thoughts and where can they learn more about your campground?
Yeah, hey, check out Askews. That's ASKEWS, Askews Landing RV.com. And you can shoot me an email at admin, ADMIN, at askieslandingrv.com. And if I can help any park owner that's listening figure out some of these Google stuff, AI stuff, what to do next with marketing systems, I'd love to help. And reach out.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of MC Fireside Chats. If you're not sick and tired of hearing from me, I'll be live with Scott Barr in about 55 minutes. We're going to talk about something called solar punk and how you can design your campground toward that. And then maybe Kevin Costner's movie Waterworld and personalizing your campground and the future of what we kind of just talked about a little bit more in depth. And then some data and research and things like that. But if not, we will see you next week on another episode of MC Fireside Chats. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Appreciate you all.
Thanks, man.